The Russian sleep experiment, science, horror, and the dark truths we dream about. What if you never had to sleep again? Imagine the time you'd save. No more groggy mornings, no more 3 a.m. spirals of existential dread, just pure, uninterrupted productivity. Now imagine what that would do to your mind, to your body, to your sense of reality. Today's story is one of the most infamous creepypastas to haunt the internet. A tale so disturbing, so eerily plausible that people have mistaken it for fact. It's called the Russian sleep experiment, and it starts with a gas, an experiment, a locked room, and 5 volunteers who were told they could leave as long as they didn't sleep. But this isn't just a horror story, it's also a mirror, because behind the blood and the madness lies something deeper, about our fear of being controlled, our obsession with endurance, and our twisted relationship with rest. It touches on government secrecy, Cold War paranoia, transhumanism, and the terrifying question, what happens when science asks not if it can, but whether it should? So today, we're going to peel back the layers of this modern myth. We'll trace its origins, explore the real science behind sleep deprivation, and ask, why do so many people want to believe this actually happened? Welcome to Forgotten Forums, the show where we explore the internet's strangest mysteries, unsolved legends, creepypastas, and the digital folklore that shapes our world. Chapter 1. The Experiment. The story first appeared in 2010, anonymously posted to a horror forum. It described a secret Soviet-era experiment in the late 1940s. 5 political prisoners were promised their freedom if they could stay awake for 30 consecutive days. They were placed in a sealed chamber, exposed to a stimulant gas, watched through microphones and portholes. Food was delivered, everything was monitored. At first, the subjects were chatty, energetic, the gas worked, they stayed awake. Researchers took notes, all seemed well. But then things changed. By day 5, the subjects became irritable, paranoid. Conversations grew erratic. They stopped talking to each other and began whispering to the microphones. Not gibberish, confessions, dark secrets, things they'd never admit while sane. By day 9, the first subject began screaming, for hours, non-stop, until his vocal cords tore. The others didn't respond. They barely reacted, just stared into space. By day 12, they stopped eating. Not out of hunger strike, just forgot to. They disassembled their beds, smeared feces on the walls, ripped pages from books, then silence. By day 15, the chamber was still. The microphones had stopped transmitting. Researchers feared equipment failure. They opened the door. Inside was carnage. The subjects were mutilated. They had ripped chunks of flesh from their own bodies. One subject had removed his organs and placed them neatly beside him. Another had torn out his eyes. One had stuffed part of his own thigh into the drain, and they were still alive. When doctors attempted sedation, the subjects resisted violently. One reportedly screamed, "You mustn't put us to sleep. We must remain awake." When asked why, one subject whispered, "We are what you hid from yourselves. We are what you sleep to forget." It's pure body horror, but it's also poetic, and it ends, like all good urban legends, without resolution, just a sense of dread. And yes, it's totally fake. Chapter 2. Origins of a Creepypasta. So where did this story come from? Like many creepypastas, it was born on forums like 4chan, Reddit, and creepypasta.com. Digital campfires where anonymous users post horror stories for others to rate, rewrite, or expand. The Russian sleep experiment exploded in popularity. Users added fake photographs. Some used props. Others manipulated actual medical images to create a visual mythology. The most famous image, a corpse-like figure with stretched lips and wide eyes, was a sculpture from a Filipino horror attraction. And yet people believed it. There's something powerful about the story's presentation. The cold, clinical tone, the Soviet setting, the use of plausible technology, stimulant gas, two-way audio, sealed chambers. It doesn't scream ghost story. It reads like a declassified military document. The Cold War context adds to the credibility. After all, real-life Soviet experiments were often brutal. From psychological torture to sleep studies, from radiation testing to exposure therapy, the Soviet regime did plenty of unethical science. So when a story like this pops up, horrific but rooted in known behavior, it resonates. Chapter 3. What sleep deprivation really does. Let's step away from fiction for a moment. What does science say about staying awake too long? A lot, actually. Sleep isn't optional. It's a biological necessity, like eating or breathing. Go without it, and the brain starts to break down. The most famous sleep deprivation experiment was conducted in 1964 by 17-year-old Randy Gardner. Under observation, he stayed awake for 264 hours, 11 straight days. Toward the end, he experienced slurred speech, short-term memory loss, mood swings, and hallucinations. He thought he was a football player. He thought a street sign was a person. But he survived. Others haven't been so lucky. In lab settings, sleep-deprived rats have died after 2 weeks despite access to food and water. The cause? Not heart attacks or brain failure, but immune collapse. Their bodies could no longer regulate basic function. In humans, the symptoms progress as follows. After 24 hours, reduced coordination, impaired memory, increased stress. After 48 hours, microsleeps begin, brief blackouts of consciousness. After 72 hours, paranoia, hallucinations, disorientation. Beyond that, we don't know, because it becomes unethical to continue. Sleep deprivation has been used in interrogation and torture by the CIA, North Korea, and yes, the Soviet Union. Victims report time distortion, audio hallucinations, even full-blown psychosis. But no one rips out their intestines and keeps chatting still. The line between real and unreal gets thinner when you haven't slept. Chapter 4. Why we believe it. So why does this story persist? Why has it been adapted into short films, podcasts, fan art, Reddit threads, and Halloween costumes? Because it reflects a deeper cultural anxiety, our fear of what happens when we go too far. We live in a society that treats sleep as a weakness. I'll sleep when I'm dead. Grind now, rest later. Winners get up at 4 a.m. We glorify the denial of rest as if it's a moral virtue. The Russian sleep experiment is the natural consequence of that mindset taken to the extreme. It's a parable about too much ambition, too much control, too much curiosity. It's also about what lies beneath the surface of consciousness. The phrase, "we are what you sleep to forget," is haunting because it implies that sleep isn't just rest, it's protection. From the truth, from ourselves. It's about trauma, repression, the monsters we bury in the subconscious. And that's why people want to believe it, because some part of us wonders, what if we stopped suppressing those things? What if we peeled back the veil? What if we couldn't turn it off? Chapter 5. Real Echoes. Though the Russian sleep experiment is fiction, it echoes real-world horrors. M-Cultra, Project Artichoke, Unit 731. Real secret programs where governments pushed humans to the edge of sanity. These are documented, verified, archived. In 2013, declassified files revealed that U.S. military researchers studied ways to chemically suppress sleep in soldiers. DARPA explored technologies to enhance wakefulness using brain stimulation. In Silicon Valley, biohackers experiment with polyphasic sleep cycles, trying to train the brain to rest in short bursts. Some push stimulants, nootropics, smart drugs. Modern life is filled with blinking lights, endless screens, shift work, anxiety. It's not that we don't want to sleep. It's that we've built a world that doesn't let us. So yes, the Russian sleep experiment didn't happen. But in pieces, digitally, psychologically, institutionally, we're still running it on ourselves. Thanks for listening to Forgotten Forums. If this story made you uneasy, curious, or a little sleep-deprived, maybe that's the point. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share, and take care of your body. Because sometimes we sleep to heal. Sometimes we sleep to hide. And sometimes we sleep to stay human.